Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Cyber Queens. As always, we are your hosts, Meryl, Erica, and Amber. I am Meryl, resident offensive expert and ethical hacker. We are joined by Erica.
I'm Erica Eakins, your technical sales rep and cyber ninja.
Are you a cyber ninja now? That's excellent. I
Yeah.
want to be a
Cyber ninja.
Cyber sales.
Yeah,
Amber.
I'm account director.
And today is a very special day on the Cyber Queens, a day we have all been excited for a long, long time. It's Dani Woolf Day.
Woo!
Dani Woolf is here.
Yay!
Dani,
Thanks.
Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you for having me, first of all. I am fangirling so hard right now. I just can't. Give me a minute. I'm Dani Woolf, everybody, founder and CEO of Audience First, and I am so thrilled to be here. This is so exciting. It's been a while. I'm finally glad we got this together. So, yay.
Me too. It was a long time in the making.
Yes.
Actually, Dani was one of the first people to hear about Cyber Queens before it officially launched back at DEF CON. So that was a good time.
Right. I remember we sat in the food court thingy and you were telling me about it. And yes, that was a long time ago. Holy moly.
Yeah, it was. She was like, I heard you're starting this podcast. Like, I want to. And she was talking to Erica, actually. And Erica was like, oh, we have someone in Vegas. Meryl's there. You should meet with Meryl. I was like, yes, that would be great. And we took us like 3 days to hunt each other down. That con is extremely large. But yes, as Dani mentioned, she is the founder and CEO of Audience First. And Dani frequently shares her insights from CISOs and other cyber professionals about better sales practices and better marketing through building authentic relationships with people in the cybersecurity industry. So Dani herself, though, non-technical person with a successful cyber company. So I want you to start off with telling us about you and what you do in your background, and like, how did you get into cyber? Why did you say, I'm just going to start a cyber company today, or start working for a cyber company? How'd that happen?
Wow, I wasn't prepared for that question, but let's break it down. Well, I've been in B2B marketing in the tech industry for over 13 years, this June. And wow, I got into the security industry about 5 years ago. I was working in different verticals like big pharma, just general information technology, and it was just really boring for me. I didn't feel like I was doing anything meaningful. And then I found this really great company at the time that was looking for a marketing manager, Guardicore. They were a microsegmentation company at the time. Now they're acquired. And I just felt like, working in the security industry would be a lot more meaningful than any other industry because of the nature of the job, protecting people, protecting businesses, working on really smart technology. And I got the job and I was really excited, and I learned so much about the marketing role in security. I learned a lot about technology. I learned a lot about people, about communication, about business. And from there, just things took off. Like my career shifted dramatically. I was going through different roles at a couple other startups in security up until right after Black Hat, when I really burnt out. I burnt out because goals were super aggressive, like unrealistic, and resources were really low. Culture was a little bit hard for me to swallow at the company, and I was just really unhappy and burnt out, and I felt like things just weren't going anywhere for me. And then I'll just, are we allowed to swear on this podcast, by the way?
You can, but Meryl has to edit it out later.
So okay. So Meryl, I'll make your job easy. I said, F it. You know what? Maybe just part ways. I didn't have anything really lined up. I did have the pod going on, the Audience First podcast going on. I was interviewing buyers because I needed to understand my buyers in order to market better. I needed to build content with my buyers because of resource constraints. And a lot of people were coming to me and saying, hey, Dani, like, this podcast is so great. It's helping me and I really like it. It's so useful. And I knew that customer research is critical in general, but very, very important in the security industry. And I was like, well, maybe I double down on it and take a risk. And I did that. I literally had nothing lined up, left my job a week after I incorporated and Audience First is now a customer research agency. We have clients now. I landed 2 clients like 2 months after I opened the agency, and we're growing. We have an academy now. We have, free resources. We have great panels. Erica was on a panel. She came.
I took the class.
She took the class. She's going to be part of the cohort, and she will. We're going to talk about that. We have so it's a lot of fun. The most fun part about it is that I get to connect with people. I'm here in Israel right now. I'm going to be stateside soon. But the most fun part is I get to connect with a lot of really smart and really nice people, which was a stigma in and of itself. Like I, as a marketer, thought I wasn't smart enough because I wasn't technical and I shouldn't be talking to people. Like the sales engineer should talk to them and product should talk to them. And I was like, nope, I'm just gonna break that
Come
stigma.
on into your bed.
Yep. And oh my God, it was a breath of fresh air.
I know Erica and Amber are dying to chime in on something you said about astronomically high sales quotas and really hard work cultures. So since I recognize that I'm the outlier on basically the sales episode, I'm just going to say you said something really relevant that we've touched on in previous episodes, which is that burnout in our industry is a very real thing, whether you're in a technical role or not. We as cyber need to shift our mindset and our cultures greatly away from those toxic work practices, because we, the professionals who are here to help you, will burn out and we'll leave the industry. And there's not enough of us here to begin with. But okay, sales ladies, have at your rants.
So as Dani knows, I've been on your CISO plus sales mashup series, and then I even joined one of your WTF Did I Just Read sessions with you and Chris Roberts. And I'll say this every time: the sales process is broken, and it starts all the way from Wall Street and the VCs, and it trickles down. And the numbers that they set are, for like somebody like me, my quota is magnified by like probably 5x. I really could probably have like a 500K quota, but I have to have like a $3 million quota because they have to overestimate their targets. And even though they overestimate it, if they don't hit, they still make money at the higher level, and I don't make money. So it's really hard to be a seller in today's in today's day and age, and with any industry, because you're worried about pleasing the VCs, which I'm not hating on them, but I get they want their money, and your shareholders. Like, I understand all of that, but it's like what just happened with the crash of the Silicon Valley Bank. The CEO, like a week before the crash, sold, I don't know if it was equity or stock, like $4 million. He offloaded it, and then they crashed. And companies like the one that I just got laid off of, which is SentinelOne, I'm laid off again in under 60 days. They had business there. I don't know that it has anything to do with them terminating my role, but it's going to hit a lot of the, companies in tech, because we're worried about pleasing our VCs. Again, I get they give us the money to have jobs. If it's not for them, I wouldn't have jobs. But you need to set realistic goals, realistic expectations, because there is no way, if I have 2 states, am I hitting a $5 million number with 2 other sellers, or 3 other sellers in the same state or region. You know what I mean? And the fact that we push this broken policy and broken system is why these tech companies and startups fail so quickly, or, they're now laying off. I keep saying this, that we're going through the 2008 real estate crash of tech, because we haven't had, mass layoffs and problems like the way that we have until the last 2 years. And everybody wants to blame COVID. I blame all of the investors and the Wall Street, all y'all. I blame you.
Okay, we're starting off
dropping truth for sure. Yes,
I did.
Truth bombs left and right. Damn, it's coming in hot. Okay.
She's got all the knowledge. She's, she did it for me. Thanks, Erica.
Yeah. I don't think anyone wants to follow Erica after that. The opposite's done. Thanks for joining us today. That was so great. No,
there's other things that go along with this, but that's the bigger problem. And until it changes from the top, we're gonna live this life.
Yeah.
This is how it is.
So speaking of, Dani, out of her exposure to the cyber industry and out of coming into this role and, experiencing that world, experiencing a lot of that as even, not someone who works necessarily. Did you work directly in sales, or were you in more of a marketing role?
I was in a demand gen role. So,
okay.
I had a lot of impact on pipeline creation.
Okay. So you saw the need, you decided, even you got over your imposter syndrome, which I applaud you for, because you decided, even though you're not a technical person, you're gonna address a need that obviously this industry greatly has. And like, you've done a phenomenal job. Just about everybody in our industry thinks of you as a go-to. So many people tag you and drop your name daily and like are saying, you know, what are we doing wrong? How can we fix marketing? I'm like, if you haven't started with the people who are already out there telling you how to do it, like, just start there, start somewhere. But in starting your own company, and as a female, you know, in a male-dominated industry, you know, what challenges, if any, did you experience in trying to start and scale your own company? Can you tell us about what that process was like for you?
Well, first of all, imposter syndrome happens like all the time for me.
It's still going.
Like it's all the time. It's always on. But I mean, the challenges and lessons learned. I mean, Meryl, you know, from yesterday's conversation, I was like, what do I do? No, I think for me, the lessons learned, challenges were, okay, is this even going to work, right? These questions, is this even going to work? Are people going to purchase? Are people going to give me, you know, the time of day to help them, you know, understand buyers better? Are they going to subscribe to my mission? That was kind of a really big question and big like risk for me, because again, I knew that the podcast was validation, but I wasn't sure about, all right, are they going to pay me for this? Because, you know, I need to put food on the table.
Everyone knows you for free, but you know.
Yeah, exactly. And I think just what I've done was systematically use feedback as evidence to what to do, right? And that's what I'm trying to tell people to do in the first place. Like, work with the direct people you're trying to sell to in order to build something for them. So I took a lot of inspiration from Justin Welsh, who's a solopreneur. Like he's all about solopreneurship. I knew I wanted to build my own life. I knew I wanted to spend time with my family. I knew I didn't want to burn out, and I wanted to enjoy what I was doing. And so I built my life around, I built my business around my life. I used evidence from people that I wanted to sell to and that I cared about, and built with them, essentially. I built my business with the people. And I'm at a like space right now. I'm at a time right now that I need to kind of pivot, and I need to optimize the way I'm doing things in order to scale the business, because I want to eventually bring people on. I want to hire people. I want to grow this into something that's really meaningful. And hey, you know, can't pay what Sentinel-1's paying, but
I love Sentinel-1. It's just unfortunate it happened to me. So yeah, but yeah, I'm interested.
Oh, yeah, like look,
we've got two of like the best right here on this podcast. So with Meryl and Erica,
and you, shush you.
Dude, no.
I don't need any more businesses to build right now. Okay.
I think one more thing just to add on to that is I don't really pay attention to haters out there and to people who are negative, especially as a woman, especially as a gay woman too. I really have thick skin here, and I think it helps to be like Israeli and live in Israel, because everyone's mean to me here anyway. So I love Israel, by the way, FYI. It helps though. So just, you know, stay resilient, know your course, don't give two F's about what people think. Just do what you love, really. I know it sounds kind of utopian, but whatever.
Hey,
I love that.
for a reason, okay? It's perfect. Love that.
No, that's great advice. I think we're all kind of out here just like there's going to be naysayers for anything, right? Like if you're too successful and someone sees you punctuating their failures in your performance, they're automatically going to try and tear you down. It makes them feel better. I'm so glad that you haven't been met with too much of that. So speaking of, so you started out, as you mentioned earlier, with like you were getting to know your customers, you were talking to the CISOs, and out of that came the CISO distillery. But what was it like starting to sit down with them? Because those are highly technical people, right? Those are the people for whom we are in charge of InfoSec for the entire org, and you were having these conversations with them. Was it intimidating? Was it like how did that learning curve work for you, and how did you start to approach them and gain their trust?
That's a great question. I think in the beginning it was a little intimidating because I thought that it would be a very technical conversation. I think what was surprising to me is that they had a very firm grasp and understanding of business. That to me was kind of insightful. I was like, wow, okay, like the CISO understands the business. They understand these, terms. Most of them that I spoke to. And I found it refreshing and insightful that and inspiring that they were able to communicate and translate specific terms that maybe were a little bit more difficult for me to understand in ways that I understood, which is so critical in this industry. What was the question? What was the original question? I totally went. Oh my gosh.
No, just how was it? How was it talking to them and gaining their trust?
No,
so how did you paint yourself as someone who is able to market cyber concepts to them, and how did that whole mutual trust relationship begin to be built?
Yeah. Okay. Great. Yeah. Okay. Again, great question. I led with, hey, I really need feedback, and I would love to learn from you. And that was just doors flew open. I didn't want to sell anything, and even when I was working, in-house as a demand gen marketer, that was what I led with, and it was legitimate. I was really genuinely curious to learn about their world and understand their problems from their lens of the world. And everybody was very specific, and I started understanding that the CISO role is just not one bucket. There are very different functions in different organizations, in different sizes, different maturity levels. I didn't know that before, and I was like, wow, this is a big world. That's why I think the best advice that I got from my previous CMO back at Gartner was he told me, you could go so deep on your customer for 1 year. And that's what I did. That was the best advice I got in my life. And I just 1 year on CISOs, and now I'm shifting to other roles. Meryl, we spoke, and now I'm shifting to a lot more technical roles, the lieutenants of the CISOs, the people all with boots on the ground.
She's hitting up the engineers. The engineers get a voice finally.
Well, a lot of times people don't realize that CISOs still have to go to the CEO, the CFO, the CTO, and sell whatever they want to implement or do within the org. So they have, they're executives and they have say, but they also have to go ask for money or ask for, growth or whatever. And a lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah. Yeah. Something Dani and I talked about too was a lot of people don't realize that not only is the CISO marketing to the other C levels, but we, the engineers and the technicians, have to market to our CISO if we want a certain solution. And if you want to sell the CISO generally, you're not selling him, you're selling his people. He's going to come to his people and say, evaluate this for me. What do you think? Do you think this addresses our needs? Our needs and our problems better than I do. If you believe this will solve your problem and make your day easier, then I'm here to support you. So really, it's understanding how their mindset is and what their process is, but it's also understanding it from our point of view as well. So
yeah, and sales management and above, they're you have to be at the C level. Well, that's true. You have to be at that level at some point, but you really need to make friends with everybody above or below them.
Yes,
exactly. People like Meryl, people like Amber when she was a solution architect.
Back when I wasn't, the bad guy in sales.
Wait, why are you the bad guy? You're the bad guy?
Why? Let's double click into that.
Oh my God, because I haven't, done your class yet, Dani.
Oh,
yeah, okay. Well,
yeah, I sent it to her. So yeah.
Yes, accountability officer over here.
Listen, all of you get carte blanche to cold DM right up until you take the class. If I see that you take the class and I see you still doing it, I'm lighting you on fire. I'm burning your effigy, doxing you on LinkedIn because stop it. Also, I think I mentioned this recently. Did you all see my post where I was like, hi, please stop pretending to be in love with purple teaming and wanting to learn about that from me. If you're just going to cold pitch me something completely unrelated to my job, it really breaks my heart. Okay. Hackers don't get very excited very often.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, Dani, I mentioned this, a shameless plug on the last episode we had about you, right? Because I was like, I love Dani because I had been following Chris Roberts for so long. And I was like, my biggest goal in this field is not to be publicly shamed on his shit list, right? I was like, this is the first I've ever met. He's in my book and stuff, and it's great. But it took me 3 days to draft and eat a LinkedIn message that didn't sound creepy or annoying, to be like, hey, I want to put a picture of you in my book. Is that cool? Are you cool with that? I'm just gonna delete this and start over tomorrow. But I was like, the last thing I want is to have that screenshot and then post it to LinkedIn, just don't be this idiot, right? And then I remember one of the posts that he had was with you, and I was like, oh my God, there's hope. There's hope for all of us. And Chris, if you're listening, we all love you. You're just one big teddy bear. We get it. But from afar, before you know Chris, you're like, oh my God, I don't want to be this terrible person that's doing all these things wrong and using marketing the wrong way and annoying the bejesus out of everyone. And then comes Dani and she's like, but wait, there's more. Here's a solution for this problem, right? Like here's a suggestion for how to do it better. And that's so key. Because it's like, I think in this industry, there's a lot of folks who, you know, Chris actually, there's kind of like the step of like, I'm going to ignore everything that comes my way and just not even address that I hate it at all. And then there's Chris that gives feedback, you know, very constructive criticism. And then there's, you know, the Dani Chris combo where it's like, hey, now we're cooking with gas. Yeah. And so it's like, I think having all of these, like the way that you go about it and the fact that you took that long to understand your customer base, you took that time to understand like how, not even just your customer base, but like the rest of our customer bases, right? And you sat down with all these folks to understand like what they need, who they are as people and how they operate so that we can help solve problems better and not sell better, right? I think like that was the key thing for me and I loved it, dude. I love it.
Big one. You just said it. And I've been having huge debates with Dimitri on this, Dimitri Sokolowski, who is the lead instructor for the distillery. Not selling, solving problems. We don't want to be selling more crap. We need to solve problems. And the whole point of the agency and the podcast and the academy is to help marketers and sellers understand those problems from the lens of the buyer. Not from me, not from force management, not from medpic, whatever, from the buyer.
Right.
And I think that's like largely missing. And the way things are going to be done in the future it's going to change. And you have to catch up now.
And that's not even just seller to consumer, you know, that's also like technician to internal customer as well. Like I was at an offsite recently with a lot of my cohorts and, you know, they were like, oh, I got to talk to this guy. I got to talk to him about this. I got to talk to him about this. I need this out of him. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, dude, you need to calm down. Like the social hour is not where we bombard people with our business needs and like our propositions and stuff. I was like, the reason I'm so successful is because 90% of the business I do is not related to business. It's just getting to know each other and letting you know who I am and letting you know what I'm about and stuff. And then like the last 5 minutes at the end, I'll be like, by the way, do you want me to email you about that idea I had? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, great, send you the details out of your way. I'm like, you know, it's really just based on the fact that they know me and the fact that we have a good interpersonal relationship. That's what enables us to collaborate and do business together. I was like, stop hammering people with this, even in real life. It's not cool.
Yeah. Well, and people don't always want to be sold to. If you guys remember, I posted the Empower the Next event on March 21st. I reposted and I said, no sales people are allowed or whatever I said. And I got a lot of haters like in my inbox telling me, you're a salesperson. How come you don't like salespeople? And I'm like, this is a Women in Cyber event that we're hosting. And these ladies who are, you know, CISOs or whatever technical role, they don't want vendors, cesspool salespeople coming and selling to them because that is what puts them on blast, like Chris Roberts does. He'll blast people, but he also gives feedback versus like people who blast us and don't tell us anything and just hate us. But there's a time to sell and there's a time to build the relationships and actually treat them like humans. I've said this so many times. I said it on Dani's podcast, they are just humans. Treat them like people. What's the problem?
Yeah. Which
well,
brings
we know
me to
what the problem is.
Oh, yeah. What's the problem?
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
5x, 2x.
I think I can identify the problem in this last question. This is the last question I have, and I think it's going to encompass what we just talked about. So we work in an industry where interpersonal relationships are often overlooked in the name of things like features and reputation. And like, you know, companies just coming in and saying, well, we're this company. You automatically want to work with us because we're just the best or we're just who we are. And you know, I just want to say, whether you're a company selling, whether you're a person selling, whether you're a personal brand, interpersonal coworkers, whatever, and this is for everybody. What is the value on building genuine relationships? Why should we take the time to do it? And what is the value we can get out of them? I think the possibility is really endless, but we'll open up the floor.
Dani, what do you think?
What's the value?
Yeah.
Where do I start?
That's the problem right there. Is I think that's the problem is that we're not focusing on that. We are just relying too much on the features and the tools, and tech is still a people industry, y'all. Tech is still a people business.
Yeah.
What? It is?
What?
Yeah.
Yes.
There's so many times where I've, you know, even before I even got into sales and I was on, you know, I was an analyst or security analyst or whatever, and I worked in a SOC. I watched, and no offense to anybody watching, maybe I shouldn't even say the name. I watched a company come in do a demo that was totally half-assed. Sorry, not sorry. And I was like, this tech sucks. Like the stuff we have is way better, right? And I'm the person running this every day, right? Like hands-on keyboard. And I remember the CEO was like, I decided to go with them and couldn't give me like reasons. And then I found out later, it's because he's like really best friends with like the owner of this company that's trying to sell to us, right? So it's like sometimes like personal relationships a lot of times will kind of trump, the actual technology itself. And that's where it's super key, right? Because at the end of the day, it's still people. Like all these people that are using these tools are people. All the people that are running them and buying them are people. So, I mean, until that changes,
Yeah, and a lot of people say like B2C is based on buying is based on emotion, but B2B is buyers based on emotion too. I mean,
everything.
Yeah. This stuff's expensive, and this stuff can change things up, change lives, and save jobs and save lives. So I don't know. I mean, again, a little utopian, but whatever.
You're right.
Value, there's no number on it, but long-term just relationships are great. People are awesome. I don't know why people aren't, connecting more with buyers. I really don't understand it. It's beyond me. I don't know why also marketers aren't doing more of that. I'm still trying to figure that out. I was trying to push more marketers out towards customers. That's my mission. Hopefully it'll change.
I mean, I personally love marketers, but I came from a marketing background. So marketers are my people. So I'm like, I understand how to force my relationship upon you because now that I'm a technician, but, even me, like technical skills are like replaceable, right? Like you can take a cloud architect and another cloud architect and another cloud architect, and like what really separates us. And I'm like, what really makes me special and what makes me different? And the reason I've been so successful with purple teaming in my niche is because I am the red teamer. I'm the purple teamer who does reach out and does build relationships. And I start introducing myself. And, I hop into an exercise and I let them see me fumble. I let them see me fail. I go, that didn't work. Oh, okay, that payload didn't go up. I'm going to get creative and go back to the drawing board. And you make yourself a person. And then when it comes to like, if we need one less cloud architect, it's like, well, we're not getting rid of the one that everyone loves to talk to. We're not getting rid of the one that's like everybody's best friend. It can be a special sauce that you bring, and it can bring you success if you're in sales or if you're not in sales. Like I still have to market my work and sell myself and advocate for the projects that I do. So it's translatable across all verticals, y'all. All the verticals. None y'all safe from these practices.
The value in relationships is like, so Chris Roberts, I've never sold anything to him as a CISO, but well, no, listen, this is the value though. He considers me, within the cyber family because, I've met him, we've done things together. I've been real with him. He was at a event with Teach Kids Tech that Teach Kids Tech was at, and he was there for his organization. He came and joined our table and was telling all these stories about, how he's been arrested for hacking and all of these things. And I'm a salesperson. So most people would say, you're wasting your time, just being friends with him. Actually, I'm not, because I've built a relationship with him. He recommends me to other people that I didn't even know about. Like it's that whole thing about your personal brand. What do they say about you when you're not in the room? And he's friendly to me, and he would stand behind anything that he thought was worth it for me. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's the value. I never sold him, and I probably won't in the near future. Maybe one day, Chris, I'm coming for you, but
not yet. You're a typical unicorn. You're like, I'm going to get that one day. Next time it comes into the woods.
These are so important. It is the most important thing in any business relationship is the actual person-to-person relationship, because we're all humans.
Yeah. Right. The way you make people feel goes such a long way. Like
people always remember how you made them feel. That's number one rule of sales, right? So
it's true. It's true. Very rarely.
Like speaking to going back to what you were speaking of, Meryl, right? Like I feel like when I first got into this industry, because I'm pretty, we know this by now, it's fine. I'm pretty awkward, but still pretty talkative, right? So like as an engineer, I fit both roles. I was like, I don't like people either, but I can talk to them, And I remember thinking like, that's not a skill. That's just normal. Like everybody's like, no, it is not, you guys. I have interviewed hundreds of people. Like as a manager, I'm like, oh, okay. This is the most awkward interaction I've ever had, even in my podcast. But like, I'm telling you, there are so many times where it's like they were like, wow, you're the only analyst we have on the team that's really good at talking to people, or you seem to connect really well with people. And so when we're losing our customers, like we're losing them, right? Amber's there to be like, hey, how's it going, guys? Come on in. Still water's still back, and that's such a skill to have. And then like speaking to what Erica said, right? That goes back to what I always say on these things, which is your network is everything, right? Your people that you have that are on your team and to help you out when you're not there. And, I just feel like the more that you're doing in your community and the more like community network, whatever you want to call it, like the more that you're actively engaged, the more people are like, you're like top of mind, right? And that's another marketing thing. Let's not forget, I came from the real estate background. So it was like, always send those emails. Because even if you're annoying, like who's the first person you think of like, hey, you want to buy a house? If I go to buy a house, all of a sudden I'm like, what's that annoying person that always emails me again? Maybe I'll just reach out to them. Like being top of mind, which I've kind of failed at on LinkedIn lately. But, I think that's huge. And so that's a big part of marketing too. That's key to remember. So good points to Erica and Meryl.
That was great, Amber.
That's beautiful. Well done, ma'am. Okay. I would love to have Dani Day go on forever, but we've been really bad about letting episodes run way over lately. And I'm determined to keep this one under 40 minutes because I'm wrangling you witches back in. So we're going to move in. We're going to move into final takeaways. And we also have one last question we always ask a guest for fun. So before we move on from this topic, final takeaways, let's go with the theme of any tips you have for going out there and building authentic relationships, whether it's someone you work with, someone you want to sell to, someone who's an executive above you. What are your guys' favorite tips and tricks? Not necessarily tricks because you shouldn't trick anybody, but what are your favorite like strategies for reaching out and building those authentic relationships and making sure that it's something that, can grow on its own?
I'll go first.
Go first.
First of all, never open up with pitching. Do not pitch people. Learn about them. My biggest tip is learn who your target is as a person, what they're interested in, what they support, like if they have charities, and don't go and stalk them at the places they like, if they're involved in stuff. Learn about them, their business, and how that person works within the business and how that person is a culture fit. Learn their goals so you can learn the organization. Like, are they trying to get promoted? Are they trying to, hire grow or whatever? Learn the person that you're actually pitching and not just the business or the person you're trying to build a relationship with, and show up when you don't even have any like monetary gain from it. I went to a charity hockey game 3 hours away one day on a Sunday because I support one of my, customers who wasn't even buying anything from me at the time, but I was there because he invited me. He enjoyed my presence, and it just shows him that I'm invested in him, not just his business.
Right.
Reach.
Yep. I'm done.
Done. Erica's out. Amber, you want to go next?
Yeah, because then all mine will be taken if I don't. I think so. I don't know. I would just kind of take it back with, make sure that you're being your authentic self, like this and all of the awkwardness that you guys get to witness because it's not edited on TikTok.
That's who she is.
Yeah, there's, I had a good friend of mine who was like, I think the reason that you got so much traction with your videos and like all this other stuff in the podcast is because people can see like you have like a little bit of a quirky. I'm like, be careful with these words, right? He's like, you can be a little quirky and like sometimes you'll fumble and mess up, but like people like empathize with that, they relate to that, and they make you approachable, right? So at the end of the day, just always kind of be yourself in that. But I'm also, and I've said this like 100 times this week, so I'm sorry to anybody from my work who's watching this, but like I focus on being a Venus flytrap, right? And so sales managers hate when I say this. Never like, I'm just not like a hunter where I'm going after people and just like attacking them all the time. My goal and strategy is I just put things out there of value for free, right? My videos, I try to make them funny. I try to make them interesting and quick and little tidbits of learning, because today I want to be seen as like the trusted advisor, what I'm talking about, because I've researched enough to talk to 4-year-olds about it. So I think, providing value and like let them come to you, that's another thing. So boom, that's my.
I'll add one, all of the above, by the way, or all of the
endorsed
what was said. I'll add. Sometimes it's okay not to talk. Maybe actively listen. Yes. Like not enough people listen. They just want to say something. Sit back, relax, listen, read. Again, it ties back to what you were saying, Erica. But just research a little bit.
But really listen, like process what's being said. Like, it blows my mind how some people just don't really listen to what you're saying, and you can tell too. Like you get really good when you talk to like 10 people in a row. Like you can tell when their eyes are glazed over or they're not really like based on what they're responding to you. Like they did not process what you said. Actively listen, and I add in actively because there's listening and there's active listening, and we can do a full course on that, by the way, if you guys want. But that's
Maybe we
huge.
should.
And under
it's a skill so many people seem to lack.
Yes. So I will sign off on that.
Agreed. Great one. All right. Well, I guess we're saving the worst for last since y'all took all the good ones. Thank you for that. Thought you guys loved me.
You're
That's
welcome.
fine. I'm just gonna go with to make yourself a human. Keep in kind of what Amber said, be authentic. Like keep in mind that perfection, while it makes us look really great, it makes us feel really good because you don't like a lot of people are afraid to show up unless they've got everything dialed in and on point. But when I started, I just started showing up even if I was wrong. And if I was like, I was wrong, please tell me. I always say, make your mess your message. Like whoever it is you are, just be that person and people will, accept you for who you are. Again, one of the first things I do is I reach out and I let people see me fail. I ask stupid questions. I let them teach me. I let them educate me. And if I am awkward that day, great. If I seem to have it all put together, that's probably something that's been rehearsed a dozen times. I do tell people I'm nervous for this meeting. Can I rehearse this this deck with you a few times? Can you point out where I'm fumbling, can I try to answer questions ahead of time so I have fewer questions like during the demo, etc. So I enlist a lot of allies that I trust to like help give me feedback. And they all know that regardless of how great and easy I make it look, it's not. There's a lot of work that goes into it. And they'll respect you all the more for it. So don't be afraid to look imperfect. Don't be afraid to look imperfect. Make your mess your message. Whoever it is that you are, there are people out there who will love and accept you. So, all right, that was final takeaways. This is going to be a 40-minute episode. I just know it's going to be. The last thing we usually do like to ask is about a book that changed your life or a book that you highly recommend someone read. Go.
Empathy in Action, How to Scale Customer Experiences, or How to Create Customer Experiences at Scale, something along those lines. And it talks about say again.
We'll find it and tag it. Whatever.
I can. We could tag it. It talks a lot about that profit at all cost mindset, Erica, and VCs, investment, Wall Street, all that kind of stuff, and how it hurts businesses and hurts professionals in startups. So I loved that book. It really helped me frame my mindset and some mental models going into Audience First podcast when I launched it. I think it was literally 1 year to date, maybe the 13th or something like that. Like literally 12 months ago.
It's your podcast birthday. Happy birthday!
Yeah, this month is podcast birthday, so yay! Yay. But great book, very easy read, very quick read too. So
there you go. The real question is, when are you going to write yours?
Yeah, when are you
I'm
write yours?
thinking about it. I don't know. I'm thinking about what. No, like I really want to do a book. I don't know on what yet.
Excellent.
I've been exploring options.
There you go.
Well, we are all excited that Dani has just announced her new book coming in probably 2 to 3 years, but you heard it here first. Don't forget. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been another episode of the Cyber Queens. We so loved having you here with us to learn about authentic relationship building and how it can benefit you in sales, marketing, and any technical work that you might do. Thank you so much, Dani, for joining us today. This was such a wonderful discussion. Thank you so much. Don't forget, if you like the content, please like, share, and subscribe. It's absolutely free and the #1 way you can support us. If you want to come at me in the comments, that's free engagement and I'll take it. This has been another episode of the Cyber Queens. We will see you all next week. We love you. Stay successful out there.
Everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Exit, Meryl.